to my people, to Africa. They thought if they killed Gaddafi, they killed the idea. They thought they could erase him from our memory. But you cannot kill what lives in the hearts of the people. Today they say my name like they said his, with confusion, with desperation. But this is not a repeat, this is a reckoning. If you see Gaddafi in me, it is because the fire never died. It simply moved. We are not waiting for permission to be free. We are not apologizing for wanting control over our land, our wealth, our voice. Africa, stand up, not for the past, for the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to Ibrahim Traoré's era. Today we are looking at the 5 most common traits Ibrahim Traoré and Muammar Gaddafi share in common. Let's begin. 1. Their revolutionary takeover. Every generation of African leadership is born in a moment of crisis. For Gaddafi and Traoré, that moment was a breaking point, where the people were suffering, the elite were failing, and foreign hands were pulling strings from behind the curtain. But instead of folding, these two men rose. Muammar Gaddafi's rise in 1969 was not just a military coup, it was a statement to the world. At 27 years old, he led the Free Unionist officers in toppling Libya's monarchy, a regime widely seen as an extension of Western influence. King Idris had grown more distant from his people, allowing foreign oil companies and Western powers to dictate Libya's future. Gaddafi, inspired by Nasserism and Arab nationalism, took control without bloodshed. He replaced the monarchy with a revolutionary command council and declared the end of neo-colonial interference. He didn't wait for foreign applause. He didn't negotiate with kings. He seized power in the name of dignity. Fast forward to 2022. Burkina Faso is under siege, not by foreign armies, but by internal collapse and external manipulation. Terrorist attacks devastate rural communities. Corruption rots the institutions. French forces operate freely, yet insecurity grows. In this chaos, a young captain named Ibrahim Traoré steps forward. At just 34, Traoré led a bold takeover that removed interim leader Paul-Henri Damiba, a man who had promised security but delivered confusion and weakness. The people were losing faith, soldiers were dying, villages were falling. So Traoré, like Gaddafi, didn't wait for permission. He acted. But what sets both men apart is what they did after taking power. They didn't consolidate for comfort. They transformed the state into a tool of resistance. Gaddafi began distributing oil wealth. He closed foreign military bases. He set up revolutionary committees. He declared that Libya would chart its own course, even if it meant being hated. Traoré did the same in his own terrain. He expelled French troops. He tightened control of national resources. He visited frontline soldiers. He addressed citizens directly, not through polished PR, but through presence. The revolutionary takeover wasn't just military, it was spiritual. It said we will no longer be ruled by fear. We will no longer accept dependency as normal. We are reclaiming this land. Both Gaddafi and Traoré also faced the immediate backlash that comes with such defiance. Western media smeared them as authoritarians. Regional blocs tried to isolate them. Internal opposition, often backed from abroad, began to grow. But revolutions are never clean. They are forged in resistance. And for both men, revolution was not a phase, it was a way of life. They did not trade one master for another. They broke the chains and refused to wear new ones. They understood something that many African leaders fear to admit. Sometimes peace must be delayed for freedom to be born. Pan-Africanism is not just a theory, it's a war cry. And for both Muammar Gaddafi and Ibrahim Traoré, it wasn't something to write about in dusty textbooks. It was a mission, a duty, a fire that burned at the heart of every political move they made. Gaddafi believed that Africa's survival depended on unity, not symbolic unity, real, economic and military unity. He dreamed of a United States of Africa. He backed that dream with oil money, diplomacy and bold ideas. He proposed a single African currency backed by gold, the creation of an African central bank, and the formation of an all-African army to protect the continent from Western manipulation. They laughed at him, then they killed him. But before he died, Gaddafi spent billions building Africa. He funded liberation movements. He paid the AU's bills. He gave scholarships to African students, invested in satellite infrastructure, and supported the African Development Bank. He knew that if Africa didn't stand together, it would fall, one country at a time. Ibrahim Traoré has picked up that flame. He doesn't wear Gaddafi's robes or speak in long speeches. but his every move speaks Pan-Africanism. When ECOWAS turned into a puppet of foreign interests, Traoré turned to real allies, Mali, Niger, Guinea. He formed a new axis, not on paper, but in action. Traoré believes unity isn't built in conference rooms, it's built on mutual struggle. That's why he collaborates with leaders who have also rejected French military presence and the CFA franc. He understands that Pan-Africanism is not just about hope, it's about shared resistance. Like Gaddafi, Traoré is hated for that, because a united Africa is the last thing the colonizers want. Divide and rule has worked for centuries, but now young Africans are watching leaders who talk about breaking those divisions and actually doing it. Traoré's Pan-Africanism doesn't wear a crown. It wears boots, it digs trenches, it builds alliances, and it reminds us that Gaddafi's dream is not dead, it's just marching forward, under a new banner, with a new commander. 3. Their anti-Western, anti-imperialist stance. One of the loudest echoes between Traoré and Gaddafi is their absolute rejection of Western imperialism. Gaddafi mocked the IMF, rejected US military dominance, and called out France and Britain for exploiting African wealth. He knew that the West never gives without taking tenfold. Traoré, in his own way, is carrying that same torch. He kicked out French troops. He exposed the manipulation behind foreign aid. He stopped Burkina Faso from bowing to international pressure. He doesn't play by their rules. He makes his own. That's why the same media that demonized Gaddafi is now targeting Traoré, because nothing frightens them more than an African leader who refuses to kneel. 4. Their opposition to foreign military presence in Africa. Gaddafi warned Africa about becoming a military playground for the West. He saw AFRICOM and NATO for what they were: colonialism and camouflage. Traoré didn't just speak about it. He acted. In one of his boldest moves, he expelled French troops from Burkina Faso. He demanded respect for national sovereignty. He made it clear, foreign soldiers will not decide the fate of his people. Like Gaddafi, Traoré understands that a truly free Africa cannot have foreign boots on its soil, and he's willing to pay the price for that stance. Even if it means isolation. Even if it means war. Because freedom is worth it. 5. Their resource nationalism. Gaddafi turned Libya's oil into a tool for national development. He nationalized energy. He redirected profits to fund education, infrastructure, and liberation movements across the continent. He knew that whoever controls the resources controls the future. Traoré is taking that lesson to heart. He's pushing for Burkina control over gold, land, and minerals. He's tearing up unfair contracts and kicking out exploitative corporations. He's demanding that Africa's wealth stay in African hands. For both leaders, natural resources are not gifts for the West. They are the inheritance of the people, and both are willing to fight for that inheritance. Gaddafi and Traoré share more than traits. They share purpose. They are the kind of leaders who rewrite the rules, who reject fear, who lead not from palaces but from principle. The West hated Gaddafi for that. Now they fear Traoré for the same reason. But this is not about one man becoming another. It's about a legacy refusing to die. This is not a repetition. This is a resurrection. And this time Africa is watching and learning, and rising.